I interviewed 4 top AI founders about what the future of AI looks like. And it's not what you'd think.
But before AI, we could all work together in the same company. But now, the people that always wanted to go faster are going faster, and the people that were comfortable doing things their way are out of sync with the rest of the organization.
Very few people are talking about how AI is changing buyer behavior.
Klarna. So they had said, hey, we're getting rid of all of our customer service agents. We're going 100% in. It made big headlines because people were like, oh, this is it. This is where we all lose job. And then about 6 months later, they're like, maybe we do need some humans. And there are some edge cases, and they brought humans back.
My name's Liz Connolly, and I've sold over $500 million worth of product at the company that I founded. Adopting AI has become a critical part of my success. My 4 AI founder friends reveal the shifts that every business owner should be ready for.
These are going to be real questions, and I don't think anybody's talking about that, but it's not going to be that far off to when we should.
All right, so I'd love to hear from each of you. How are you personally using AI that others are not?
I think I've got ChatGPT open in a tab just like I have my email. And like DJ, I use it primarily for my search. And then I use Claude for Opus Max in Cursor. I pay that 30 cents a query or whatever when I'm doing coding because it comes out so much better and it saves me time of back and forth. And it's crazy how the newer models, like I can give them a very complex problem and I will literally write like 2 pages of exactly what I want the app to do and how I want it to work. And it will get 80% of the way there. And the difference between the very cutting edge models, I know like for Opus, I mean, by the time you watch this, I'm sure we'll be on version 7, it changes all the time. But there's this amazing difference between that, what just came out in the last 90 days versus what was 90 days ago. Oh my gosh, I'm getting product shipped so much faster, far more accurate, so much better. It's like I went from a high school intern helping me code to a master's in computer science. And that is crazy. And what we're really seeing is the difference in the models. So if anything, pick your models carefully and always make sure to check with the latest.
Anything I do, I try and just do it AI first. And that doesn't necessarily mean I start with AI. For me in particular, I like to get like my own draft or thought out and then have AI work it for me. It works better for me that way. But really it's changing my habits because so much of what we do today is just as you get older, you get stuck in your ways, right? And the way you work. And so I'm really just trying to like any task I'm doing, I'm asking myself, like, how can AI help with this? And what can I do? And starting with AI. So I don't know if there's anything like crazy different that I'm doing, but it's just starting with it. So I'm pushing the boundaries on what it can do. And even just simple things of like, data analysis, and I could quickly do that in Excel, but having it do it or reformat something for me has been incredibly helpful.
Probably, I think a lot of people are using it the way that I'm using it, just not my age group. So I'm going to be 40 this year, and all my friends are blown away by how much I use AI on a day-to-day basis, from my therapist to my personal trainer to my like grocery list maker, meal planning, strategy. I know a lot of people like 30 and younger are using it a lot like me. But yeah, I run my whole life out of AI and I love it.
Something I do a lot recently is talking to OpenAI's voice mode to chat through ideas. So what I'll do is if I have like a new architecture or if I have a new idea that I'm thinking through and I want to think through different options, I'll use the voice mode to talk through it on my way home or if I'm just like pacing around my office. And what I'll do is kind of start off with like what I'm trying to do. And I'll piece apart like, okay, what exactly are the features that I'm trying to build, or like what are the requirements of what I'm doing? And then I'll ask for a couple of options. And then if it says, you could consider using like, this type of database or this type of API or whatnot, I'll ask it for a few different options. And that's been really helpful to kind of then at the end, I can say, okay, now that you've heard everything, like summarize my plan for what I should do next, and can be really helpful for unblocking like how to approach a project.
So what's a common use case of AI that you think is overhyped?
I think creative. I think anything that involves graphic design, someone that understands how to make music or edit film, even shooting film. I think AI will definitely get there. And I think with enough prompting, spending hours working with an engine, you can get something that's really close. But I don't think right now we're going to be watching like full length AI movies that are good, like that are just as good as Oscar winning movie right now.
I would say customer service. So that's usually where I see people want to implement, particularly like Gen AI. They want to use it for the chatbots or because of the voice mode is so good, have it for some of the calls. And to me, I just don't see it completely there yet. And the use case from this is, I believe the company is Klarna. So they had said, hey, we're getting rid of all of our customer service agents. We're going 100% in. It made big headlines because people were like, oh, this is it. This is where we all lose job. And then about 6 months later, they're like, maybe we do need some humans. And there are some edge cases, and they brought humans back. And so I think it's just one of those use cases that like it seems like a perfect fit. And I think, for like 25% or 50% of your calls or chats, like that may be a great option and a great way to go, but it's not going to take over everything.
If this is necessarily a hot take, but I think that using Lovable, like I'm really excited about Lovable's new features that you can actually integrate it into your code base.
Mhm.
Because I think Lovable was really awesome for mocks, but one of the really hard parts is like if I want to go in and actually change like a small piece, I think these AI tooling where it will generate the whole image or the whole app all at once, it can be really hard to specify like I just want this piece to change, not like anything else.
Right.
So I think I'm really excited about Lovable's new capability of actually integrating that code into either downloading the code base or creating a repo out of it so that you can go in and change like individual pieces of it. And I think the parallels image generation in a lot of these tools, like you ask it to create an image and it's like almost perfect, but you want the dog in the background to disappear. And then you say get rid of the dog in the background, like everything else changes. And then so
Yeah.
it's whack-a-mole of like trying to get it into the place that you want.
Okay, so what shift in AI is coming next that no one's talking about?
I think one thing that's very interesting is, will AI be able to own property? And like, what happens the first day that AI owns property and begins to trade stocks and begins to do other things? And it won't be like somebody will be like, hey, here's a deed, I'm donating it to you. But I think what could happen is that you have like maybe wealth management being replaced by AI. And then you have various agents begin to organize, not necessarily unionize, but kind of create little trade federations. And then they will have their own, let's say there is like, ultimately you think there's some human behind it that's owning it, but as some humans pass or things go into unclaimed property or whatever, like who's managing all of that money? I think there could be an agency of agents that are managing things, and they will become a stakeholder in conversations just like any other stakeholder when it comes to tariff, trade policy, taxation, and property ownership. And I just think like we've never considered, what if there's a consortium of AI agents that wanted to own or became somehow, somebody like bequeaths something to them? Can they ever have it? Or could there be some sort of entity, like some nonprofit or something that they kind of have control of? These are going to be real questions. And I don't think anybody's talking about that, but it's not going to be that far off to when we should.
The shift that's coming with AI, I do think nailing the being able to find the balance of controllability and generative AI has been hard and continues to be hard. Some of the best AI tools out there are those that allow you to swim really fast with something. So it makes you go really quickly, but you still have that controllability. And I think what the AI future will hold is increasingly more of that, where it's like, how do you do more and more of the easy tasks, but forever for that like last 1% allow for human in the loop?
Yeah, I think there has been a lot of overhype about agents. There was this idea that like these agents are just going to go in the wild and would do your full job. I don't see that necessarily happening. I see really deeper and deeper in intelligence discovery is what I'll call it. And let me preface what that means, which is we can go into a narrow group of like medicine or, new material discovery and build amazing models that can discover things we as humans couldn't discover or don't have enough time to, just because of the breadth of knowledge that they can consume that we can't. And so I think we're going to start to see a lot more narrow models in a way that are going to go really deep in a particular industry or vertical and create new scientific discovery. So less about a model coming in and doing all of my job. Because what's unique about humans is we're actually really adaptable, and would have a lot of like common sense, even though some of
Totally.
you may argue like that person doesn't have any common sense. Most as we as humans have a lot of it. And so I think we're going to lean more on AI where it's good at, which is like going really broad and deep and reading millions of papers or books, just things that we as humans couldn't. And I think we'll start to find more balance between like what humans are good at, which is adaptability, and what AI is good at, which is really the breadth of knowledge that it can expand.
Yeah, this is something that I'm really passionate about. Also, just my company 329 is putting a lot of work into, which is AEO, Answer Engine Optimization. I feel like everyone is so preoccupied with how AI is going to make their life easier or save their business money, which is a valid concern and a worthwhile endeavor. But I feel like very few people are talking about how AI is changing buyer behavior and discovery patterns. And I feel like what AI right now is doing to us and to like our behavior in terms of finding experts to help us is what Google did to Yellow Pages. And it is taking all of the research right now that we normally do on Google, typing in good keywords, like good sentences into Google to find relevant sources, then sifting through those sources. I feel like that's all being done by AI right now. It is our own personal researcher. It is every business's it will be every business's number one referrer, because people are going to trust AI that whatever answer it gives them, that's who they should go with. And if companies aren't listed in those results, then they're going to miss out on, I think, probably the biggest like first mover advantage since social media came onto the scene and businesses were trying to figure out how to use that to grow their companies.
Okay, so what's one thing about AI's future that most people are getting wrong?
Yeah, I think one of the things that people are getting wrong, or maybe just a misconception, is there's so much talk about will AI take people's jobs? And that I think is just even the wrong question. I To me, what I see happening a lot of times is not that there aren't going to be jobs, but the skill set is going to be vastly different. And so we should be asking, like, what skills do people need to have in an AI world, or how do we prepare to work in an AI world? And that's the area I just never feel that there's enough conversation about. I mean, you're asking the right questions for that. So I think you're filling a much needed space. But I think that's one of the things people get wrong. The question is always like, is it going to take jobs? Or like, it's a zero-sum game, and it's not. It's one that's continually changing. And I wish there was more conversation around like, how do we change? How do we adapt? And how do we grow with this technology?
Especially for voice agents, we're seeing that people are simultaneously overestimating what voice agents can do and underestimating them at the same time. So I think people overestimate what they can do today, and will say like, we just want to handle all of our call volume all at once with voice AI. And instead of really scoping down the problem to like, this is the type of request, like appointment scheduling definitely can now with voice AI, and all of the other inquiries should be routed to a human. And then they're underestimating what voice AI can do, because I think that there's this potential where, similar to Waymo, I think Waymo has this magical experience that has totally blown people out of the water in terms of what self-driving cars can do in the near future. And I think we should have more of a vision of what voice AI can do in that sense, where we can make it truly autonomous, really reliable, able to handle really complex tasks. And so I think people aren't thinking big enough in like the next 6 months to a year, and they're trying to get it to do too much, given not scoping it down enough today.
I feel like people are overestimating how much AI can do creatively. AI platforms are releasing all these previews on like movie making and graphic design, and it definitely can handle that. But what I'm finding, and I do this for a living, it still takes me a really long time using AI to craft creative projects, whether that's images or videos. There's still a lot of like human involvement. You can't just type a sentence and it gives you like a whole 2 hour long movie or like a whole deck for a presentation. There's still a lot of like expertise that needs to be involved at this point. It's constant back and forth. It is not just like a one and done.
What we are not seeing enough of is enough value reflected in how productive the AI agents are. And I think that's evidenced by my 30 cents a query for an agent that can literally write code so much better. That could be 60 cents a query. That could be $1 a query. And so I think there will be folks that can really generate tools that will be so productive. And where I think things will fail is where, I don't know, like there's so many different dimensions, it's hard to predict. But what I'm really curious to see, like I would have some predictions. I think there will be AI businesses that are almost like investors that will come and be able to unlock capital and be able to run businesses. Like imagine Chat My SaaS, a platform where you just describe the business and business opportunities. Like, okay, here's your market, here's your leads. Based on the quality of this idea, I've already secured 1.2 million in seed capital. Now let's execute. And like, it's like, we're going to hire 82 virtual agents and 2 human staff. And here's what each is going to do. Like, I could see that being totally possible. Just taking insights, creating their own insights, keeping some of the winnings. I could see investment firms developing, let's say like Andreessen comes up with its own AI-enabled model and it buys up traditional businesses and, AIs them. And they have a great formula around that. I think integrating it really tightly with business leadership and specialists will be key. I still think that there will be this combination effort though, where people will combine, like they'll kind of extend their own specialty with AI, and that will be one of the most productive ways of doing things. Because I think the synergy between the two is pretty special.
Okay, so to close us out, what's coming and what should we prep for?
The whole labor market, like I don't understand what jobs are going to look like in 10 years. And I'm actually excited about it. I mean, I've just told our company, like, do not hire unless you can prove to me that that job cannot be done by AI. And there's so many jobs, like what we need now are not people that want to do things, but people that want to frame the things that need to be done and then to supervise those things. It's a very different kind of job. And it's crazy. Like, I think that people, there's like, I found in my company, I could almost divide everybody into 2 groups. The people that are hungry to move faster and the people that are happy at the pace things are moving. And with AI, before AI, we could all work together in the same company. But now the people that always wanted to go faster, going faster, and the people that were comfortable doing things their way are out of sync with the rest of the organization. And so it is a real time of separation between working styles. And I find folks with the ADHD and the need to go fast, I'm being myself being one of those people. This is like our time to really go and have business move at the speed of thought. And the way that employment and other things have been ready, like our economy just does not reflect a structure for this. So I don't know whether it's UBI, I don't know what the future looks like, but it's going to be very different because it's not just like you have your 10x engineer anymore. You're going to have your 10,000x engineer. And now what?
The big difference between AI bots and Google bots is that Google bots just like brute force crawl the internet. They just go every page. AI is just like us. Think about yourself when you're searching. You're going to click the top couple Google links. You're going to scan easy to read websites. If they're hard to read or they're hard to navigate, you're probably just going to bounce and try to find another resource. AI bots are the same way. So businesses, I think that like the lowest hanging fruit is check the schema on your website. Next would be start anticipating what buyers would type into AI to find you and write your content for those questions. It's called question clustering. And you shouldn't forget about keywords, but keywords are not going to be as important as writing to questions that people are going to be asking. So much time and effort is put into how to structure a web page, just in terms of readability and like hooking people. And part of SEO is how long people stay on your website. It's going to be interesting to see how it shifts how websites are built if AI built into the browser is going to be able to just summarize pages for all of us.
I think that not having a really good process of being able to deploy agents at scale, like something we're seeing a lot is that each agent will have a different setup for every new customer. And so really coming up with developer best practices, but also operationally, how do you build out a company that every single agent is a little bit different? Do you either get really clear on the features and make them and like increasingly make all of those agents very similar? Or do you have like very strong processes around like how do you deploy a new agent every single day? Or is AI actually just going to be an accelerated professional services field where like maybe it doesn't take, it's not as expensive or unscalable as it used to be to have professional services, but it's still going to have that very high touch aspect forever. So I think that's something we're curious to see. Obviously, I think evals are a massive part of this, and that's like why we do what we do at Cobalt is like how do you really create like a scalable evals process so that when you create a new agent, you know it's acting in the way that you expect.
It's going to be an interesting time as we come together with this technology to understand what are our roles, what are its roles, and how do we work together to create a bright future. I think we are really entering, to quote, an old book by Bill Gates, business at the speed of thought. We are really beginning to enter that, where idea to inception is not weeks, it's hours, it's minutes.